Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to Wonder Series Wednesday. I am Denise Stegall. I am your host here of the Wonder Series that is sponsored by livinghealthylist.com. Go check out livinghealthylist.com. We are here every week at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time for one reason. We are here to help you wonder what life would be like if you looked at it from a different perspective, if you opened your mind to other thought processes and other ideas and things that other people are finding success with. Who would you be? What would you create? And essentially, how could that help you create your healthy, happy lifestyle, that life that you've always been looking for? So today, my special guest today is John Latta. John is a mystic. He is an author. He is a teacher, a former founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. He's kind of been around the block, and this is really going to open your ears to magical things. So when I say, keep your ears open, open your mind, this is definitely one of those conversations you want to have an open mind and just suck it all in, get all of the information that John is going to talk about today. So what in 6 words, I was asked, what's in 6 words does John do? He is an author, a teacher, a mystic, love. I love this idea about love, wisdom, and healer. So John, hello there. Welcome.
Hey, Denise, how are you? Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really excited to chat with you. And there's so many things that we can connect about. So it's really exciting. So I just basically told everyone, your bio on paper. This is who you are on paper. Who are you in real life?
Oh, wow. We're going to go right for the vulnerable stuff.
Right in there.
All right. Let's see. So who am I now? So I'm a very rational, hardworking man, very linear, but I'm also this kind of random accidental mystic. And my life journey seems to be bringing those two together. I'm one of those guys, hardworking, good at management. You want me to manage a project for you, manage people, stay on task, stay on schedule, great. But my learning the last 20 years has been opening up to what I would just call being or intuition, guidance from within, wisdom from within. And my main source of that, not exclusively, but mainly has been through dreams. And so it goes through waves. Sometimes a long time goes by without much going on. And then a flood of dreams will come forth, and a great variety of dreams. They can be of a healing nature, of a warning nature, of a helpful nature, of a guidance nature. It can be about me. It can be about other people. And I admit I thrill and love when those dreams come through. And so some people would call those qualities feminine. And so a lot of my journey has been weaving together a balance between masculine and feminine. I live here in Redmond, Washington, just outside of Seattle. It's gray today, no surprise, but the sun's trying to poke out. I live here with my wife, Wendy. Maybe as a consequence of coming through COVID, we live a very quiet life. Both of our kids are grown. But I think we're starting to get back out into the world a little bit more now.
Amazing. So I'm intrigued about the dream thing, and we will get there. But you had said, in your bio, there are other things that you've done and that you do in your career. So
Right.
let's actually start there, because a lot of people that are listening, we're right in the midst of career. Maybe it's a career change,
Yeah.
and it's always interesting to hear, how someone kind of transitions, whether it's a total transition or it's something that starts to flow with their life. So tell us a little bit about your career up until your carear, and then how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I'd say I've had 2 major transition changes. One was I was the store manager for a large regional grocery chain in the 80s and 90s, and managed a number of different stores. So I'm familiar with managing, 50 to 100 people at a time. Long hours, hard work, trying to squeeze as many precious seconds out of a day as you can. And then in 1999, that chain got bought by a larger chain, and then that whole thing got bought by Kroger. It became part of the Kroger family of stores. And it was no longer a fun place to work anymore. And I had been running a business on the side. It sounds kind of silly. I had it was kind of ahead of its time, a non-toxic, biodegradable stain and odor remover. And it was primarily used if your cat or dog had an accident on the carpet. And I love that product. And I decided to leave my very secure job and start my own company. And so blindly launched into running a chemical company. And I knew a little bit about the business, so I wanted to try and get my product into all the major retailers all across the US. And as time went on, it grew into a bunch of other product lines. For about a decade, I was making a whole line of pet products under the American Kennel Club name. And like any business, there were wild ups and downs. The initial phase, I lost so much money, it was just horrific looking back. But then it went completely the opposite 3 or 4 years later, where I'd never made so much money in my life. And then the 2008 recession hit. It was like, oh my God, hanging on by a thread again. And then I climbed back out of the hole again. And so I ran a chemical company for a lot of years. And probably around the year, let's say 2017, we lost a couple of fairly large retailers. And I realized I didn't have what I would call that fire in the belly to continue anymore. And my right-hand man, Julie, who was my assistant, did everything with me. She was just tired of all the nonstop logistics, and anybody running a company like that, it's just logistics. And she was sick of it. She goes, I want to quit. I want to retire. I don't want to do this anymore. And I didn't even have the fire in the belly to go back and try and figure out how to replace her. And so I thought about it over the weekend, and I decided, I think I just want to sell my company. And what was hard for me, Denise, was I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do next. I was waiting to be inspired, like to jump into the next new thing, before I would leave, but I could just feel it. And I admired, football coaches that sometimes were looking at renewing giant contracts, and they had to decide, do I have the fire in the belly to continue? Because it's a nonstop. Some jobs they're just so much energy.
Absolutely.
And I didn't. So I went back to Julie and said, look, what if you stay with me? Let's prep the company for sale, and I'll make sure you get a chunk of that if we sell the company. She goes, okay, that'll be the motivation to hang in there.
Okay.
And it took 2 years. It took you 2 years to get the company needed to sell off some slow selling product lines. By that point, I knew what I was doing. So I knew what would make my company attractive to a bigger company. And I was looking to sell to another company doing exactly what I was doing, just have them take over our brands. And so I think it was in March of 2019, I went and hired an investment banker and went through the whole process, started marketing the company. And I had used some of my metaphysical school of learning and the school of hard knocks in the real world. And I set an intention of how much I wanted to sell the company for, who I wanted to sell the company to. I wanted to sell it to a strategic buyer because they could offer to pay more than just some Joe Schmo off the street.
Sure.
And I wanted somebody that knew what they were doing already, so I didn't have to hang around and train them for a year. And I wanted to be an easy sale, like no, excuse my French, no bullshit, just honest, direct, shake hands, trust. And right out of the gate, we got the perfect buyer. Like I could hardly believe it. Like the CEO came and started cracking jokes, and it was no BS, just direct, honest, never played any games. Wow. I kept expecting him to go, and I'm sorry for your Trump supporters out there, but I expected him to kind of go all Donald Trump on me, but he never did. And it was just complete honesty and trust the whole way. I got exactly the price I wanted, and the whole thing took 6 months. And so first transition was leaving the grocery business to running my own company. The second one was selling my own company and leaping into the abyss and not knowing what I was going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a little difficult for me because 3 months later, COVID hit,
Yeah, when you said 2019, I was like, ooh, right before COVID.
Oh my God, looking back, thank God I listened to that little voice that was telling me, yeah, you need to sell now. So, and because, the new buyer did say for the next 2 years, they'd been in business for 65 years, that it was the most difficult 2 years of their entire company history. So many supply chain problems and, But, and so,
Hallelujah.
yeah, yeah, no kidding. There's a few times I kind of got down and kissed the ground. It's hard to go through challenges. It's even harder to go through challenges when your heart's not in it.
Mhm.
And I did what a lot of people did during COVID. I wrote the book I always said I was going to write. And so that's been my new career, is stepping into author, stepping into teacher, talking, stepping into being a speaker, that type of thing.
That's awesome. So you mentioned a minute ago, like that you listen to this little voice. So we'll get back.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that little voice and how that little voice, you mentioned earlier, how that voice comes to you and how, well, let's just see where that conversation goes. Let's talk about that voice.
Yeah. So that little voice, I'm going to call intuition. It's been my life's journey the last 20 years to listen to that voice. My experience of that voice is it's subtle, it's quick, it's direct, it's honest. It's no bullshit. It's just how it is. And my mind, whatever I'm going to call that, you might call that my ego, my personality, my collection of habits, tends to override that little voice a lot. And so learning to find that balance between, I'm going to call my lived life experience and that little voice. Again, it's not always easy. Some people, they live and die by their intuition. They just trust it. I've met men that don't have a linear bone in their body, and they live entirely by intuition. And it's actually amazing.
I don't know many of them.
There's not many, but Sir Richard Branson is England's most successful entrepreneur, billionaire, never got past 9th grade in schools, terribly dyslexic. And he said, like so many people, like somebody who goes blind, other qualities compensate for the blindness. And so what his compensation was intuition. And so he's founded to this day, I think, like 200 different companies, but he started as a kid with Virgin Records. And he said, even as a kid, I knew within 30 seconds if I was hiring somebody, if they were the right person for me or not. I trusted that voice implicitly.
Wow.
And so I've met some amazing men that just like, man, dude, how do you, why? But they listen to that voice, that trust, that intuition. I'm still learning to listen to that.
Yeah, I think most of us are at that place where, we want to listen, we want to hear the voice.
Yeah.
And so how, I guess the question is, how do we start to listen to that voice?
Well, that's a really good question. So I think anything that can bring more peace to your life, more calm to your life, meditation, prayer, going for walks, taking a long bath. Even Albert Einstein said, why is it I'm this brilliant man and I work hard to solve these problems? And the answers come to me instantly when I'm in the shower, when I'm not even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And so I think you have to cultivate some sort of peace in your life, or even allowing yourself, say, 30 minutes in the morning of just peace, because people's days can get busy. There can be a lot of frantic busyness. It's hard to hear the voice in the midst of the busyness, especially if you're not even used to hearing that voice. Mm-hmm. And so what I think started to open the door for me was dreams, paying attention to dreams, being in that sort of liminal space where you're laying there in the morning, kind of half awake, half asleep, thinking about the dream you just had. And so the more you can spend some time there, and then I would also say that one's guidance, one's wisdom, it's available to all of us. Most of us just aren't listening. There's a great lady, her name is Lorna Byrne, and she wrote a book called Angels in My Hair. And her experience from early childhood is she sees angels everywhere. I mean, that's her day-to-day reality, is communicating with angels. And she says every person without fail has a guardian angel right there with them every step of the way. And they're talking to people, but people ain't listening. And she goes, there are millions, and she put it, of unemployed angels that would die to be your helper, but you have to ask. And so that would be the other thing. Besides cultivating a period of quiet in your life where you can listen, I would say ask. I want to be in touch with my inner wisdom. Some people don't realize it's as simple as that. A sincere ask can start a whole chain of events. I really want to be in touch with my inner intuition. I really want to be in touch with my inner wisdom. Watch what happens. Books will fall in your lap. Something will suddenly show up on the internet, and so I think start with, it sounds kind of cliche, set the intention, but make sure it's sincere.
I think that last bit is really important. Make sure that it's sincere.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of times people, when they want this, and they want it because there's a problem, or, they want something that they don't really need, or, it's kind of, oh, I'd really like that new, iPhone 2900 or whatever the heck the new iPhone is nowadays, but they don't need it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I think it's much deeper than those superficial things, those
Yeah.
materialistic things. It's like, what do you want in your life, like, to change? So let's talk about some of your dreams. And, we mentioned here, how dreams can facilitate healing, because I think most people are on some kind of healing journey, whether it's something from childhood, something that, past life, whatever it might be. I don't know a lot about that, but it's something that people, you hear more and more when we talk intuition, is we're on this, this healing journey, we're on this life journey, but part of it is a healing journey.
Yeah. Well, a couple things. So in the early days, I joined a dream forum online, and the teacher gave a process, and I'll tell you real quickly what it was about. Again, this is setting the intention to remember your dreams, because most people dream. I think everybody does, but most people don't remember them.
Yeah.
And so here was the process. Put a journal and a pen next to your bed, or recording device, some way to record the dream. And as you're falling asleep and you're starting to drift off, imagine yourself standing at the edge of a cliff with your back to the abyss. And you take off all your clothes, completely naked. And as you're falling asleep, fall backwards into the abyss in total trust, and ask for a dream. And so I did that night after night. About the third night, I had a dream, just a little bit. And then the fourth night, a little bit more. And I think by 2 to 4 weeks later, suddenly I was having so many dreams, I had to kind of turn off the
You open the floodgates there.
I did. In fact, I've had to learn the balance between, I can't, no dreams tonight, I just need to sleep, And so, and like a lot of people's dreams in the beginning, they were a confusing mess of like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? And so I encourage everybody to write down the dreams anyway, just muse on them a little bit. There are groups you can join that are helpful, but at the end of the day, in the long run, it's your dream. It's unique to you. Dreams usually speak to us in symbols, and that those symbols can be very personal. They'll be meaningful to you. It's why you have to be a little cautious about just interpreting dreams from a dream dictionary. Dreams can also have kind of collective or tribal, meaning. If you grew up in a certain part of the world, or a certain belief system, or a certain religion, the symbols are going to be meaningful to you within that context. And then there are dreams that are sort of universal in nature, and they have kind of universal meanings. And so it's a little bit like learning Chinese, and so you just have to go with it. But I found that once you started to grok the meaning of what was going on, the dreams open up into so many different categories. I wrote a whole chapter in my book called The Spectrum of Dreams, and I scribbled down a few of them before our talk here, and I was going, there are collective dreams, there's out-of-body dreams, there's precognitive dreams, there are dreams that give you a course correction or a warning, dreams of integration and healing, dreams of balance, dreams of seeing deeper into yourself and into others, dreams of past lives, dreams where if you're traveling, you literally your dreams will tune into the energy of the place that you're at. I mean, a whole world opened up that I didn't even know existed. Wow. Dreams of grace and unity and destiny. I used to, for a period of time, I'd be reading a new book, not always, but typically of a spiritual nature, and I would just nod off in the middle of it. And this whole, some people say the book carries an energy, and it's almost like the energy of the book came flooding in. And so coming back to healing now. So I think on some level, you could say, all dreams are healing. All those categories on some level are healing. And so I want to share a couple dream experiences I had where I healed physical pain. We were talking a little bit off the air about, neck and shoulder pain. Yeah. So I had 6 years of chronic neck pain that I assumed was from being rear-ended in a car crash. And I was plowed into from behind when I stopped. and had classic whiplash type pain. I'm in my 40s and I was really athletic and active at the time. And man, it got worse and worse and worse. I mean, and I tried, massage and acupuncture and bought books on neck pain and did all the exercises faithfully.
That's, yeah.
You probably know,
I know. And I'm a certified massage therapist, back in the day. And so I know all the things that, that I know to do that most people wouldn't, but it's still.
I tried standing at my desk. I tried sitting a bouncy ball at work. I tried
standing at my desk.
Well,
I couldn't sit, honestly, because earlier I could not sit.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, then you know what I'm talking about. And it got really bad. And one day I came home from work early, and I climbed in bed to take a short nap before my kids got home and got off the school bus. And I was in tears. Like, I couldn't believe I was going to have to live this way the rest of my life. And I went, excuse my French again, why the fuck does my neck hurt so bad? And I barely closed my eyes and this hyper vivid dream came through of a monk with shaved head and a red robe pacing back and forth at the end of my driveway out in front of my house. End of dream. And I'm like, I have no freak. I was going, somehow that's trying to tell me something. I have no idea how that's connected to my neck pain. Well, that was when I had joined the Dream Forum. And the leader of the forum, I got on there and told him everything that happened, just like I just told you now. And I said, I don't get it. And he goes, that dream has everything to do with why your neck hurts. I'm like, what? I just don't get it. So he said, explore, what does a monk symbolize? Why do monks shave their heads? Why do they wear red robes? Why is he pacing outside of your house instead of inviting him into the house? And so you have to understand, Denise, I'd had 30 long years of being as anti-spiritual and anti-religious, very wedded to my rational, linear, logical view of life. And so he goes, I just want you to open to this possibility. There's another part of you you're not letting in. Like, okay. So he left it. Another month or two goes by, and now the stream comes, and this healer is coming towards me, and he's got his hands out, and he's going to heal my neck. And in the dream, I'm like, oh my God, thank God, And as he reaches for my neck with his hand, an angry old man who lives in my neck says, get the fuck away. And end of dream. And so I went back on the Dream Forum, and, the teacher just said, John, everybody carries resistance somewhere in their body. You just carry it very powerfully in your neck. And, Denise, that was a period of time that I had gotten divorced, had custody of my kids. They were 9/11, was facing bankruptcy with my new career, and going through a whole spiritual transformation that was unnerving to me, exciting, but scary at the same time.
Oh, sure. I can imagine.
So I have lots of things I was resisting every day, and he goes, I just want you to just pay attention to, some people carry tension in their head or in their belly, some in their shoulders, some in their neck. And so it didn't happen overnight. I started just become more aware of when I was letting tension build up in my neck. So maybe 2 more years goes by, and I have this hyper vivid dream where I'm sitting in my office at home, and I've got a large golden thumbtack in my hand, and I go to just absentmindedly kind of stick it in the bulletin board behind me, but it feels weird. And as I turn around, there's this beautiful Asian monk with shaved head and a red robe, and I've just plunged that tack right into his heart, and he's just smiling at me with such love. And I suddenly realized my neck didn't hurt anymore. Like, it just wasn't like, it just was like, yeah, I guess my neck hasn't been bothering me lately. And so it was a long-term way of, with dreams, learning and just bringing conscious awareness to the body that when I'm feeling stress, it wants to pile up in my neck. And to this day, I'm just like, I just try not to let that happen anymore. And so, so that chronic neck pain, all gone. It's been gone for a decade now.
So when you do feel that stress,
yeah,
are there steps that you take? Do you think of the monk? I'm intrigued.
Two things. Yeah. So 2 things happened. One, I embraced a spiritual path for the first time in my life. Two, I embraced all the things that the monk represents. And I find it ironic, years later, I had 2 or 3 readings from readers that did past lives. And they're like, oh my God, John, you've been a monk in so many past lives, you make me sick, you know? And so, you know, the anti-spiritual guy, turns out he's a long history, lineage.
Really spiritual guy.
Yeah, super spiritual guy, yeah. And two, when I feel the stress come on and I feel it starting to pile up in my neck, I don't know how to put it. It's just somehow being aware of it stops it from tightening up, you know. And I'm not saying I don't have, if I sit down at my desk with poor posture and I'm typing for 4 hours, I'll be stiff and like, yeah, geez. It's not the same thing. Before it was like chronic pain every freaking day.
Yeah, the throbby kind of, never goes away. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing that would make it feel good was to take a nap, lie in the fetal position on my side, or lay on my back and put my feet up on a chair with my knees bent. And so it was a long, you know, part of the beautiful thing about paying attention to your dreams, in my experience, is you have more conscious awareness of the body. Things are going on. Most people aren't conscious that or aware that that stress is starting to accumulate in their gut or in their head or in their shoulders or neck. And so it's just, you just catch it, and I don't know how to describe it. Once you catch it, you sort of unhooked from it.
You know, it's interesting. You say, you know, the word aware came, you know, awareness, like in my kind of world where, you know, in the health and wellness world where I talk a lot about eat real food, people are not even aware of what they're eating or not eating because they're doing it, you know, while they're driving. I see it all the time at the stop sign. You know, there's somebody drinking their coffee and eating their breakfast muffin or whatever they're doing. Same thing, you know, and I know we do this, you know, we eat in front of the television more often than not.
Yeah.
I'm aware because I've prepared the food, but most people, you know, they're just kind of eating and munching all day long. And so that awareness piece, when all of a sudden it's kind of in your face and you're looking at it, it is kind of a, oh, wait a minute. It's a bit of a, okay, hold on a minute. You know, it's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's once we start looking at it that I think that it becomes, one, we're aware of it, but then it becomes real. It's kind of one of those things. Oh yeah. I know it's probably something that I should, you know, think about. So we talked a little about how to remember dreams. I'm really intrigued by this because I'm one of those people that go, oh yeah, I had a dream last night, and shoot, what was it? So I have to say, there are times when, like, my husband's upstairs, old boyfriends pop into my head, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and then random people. But I kind of wake up going, oh, well, that was different, but haven't taken the next step to see what that all means. So I'm intrigued by this. So John, tell us about your book, because we can go, you know, we can talk a lot, but I think it's always good for people to be able to have something physical in their hand where they can kind of flip back and forth. And then of course, you know, where can people connect with you? So they, when they have those questions.
Yeah, so my book is called The Synchronicity of Love, Stories That Heal, Transform, and Awaken. It's told in kind of a unique format. It's 119 short, true stories of really the last 20 years of my life. And it's a lot of the things that we talked about today. I wrote the book that way because a lot of people, myself included, are sort of short attention spans nowadays. And it's kind of fun to pick up a book and just randomly open it. And you can, you know, most of the stories, honestly, are 1 to 3 pages long. And so I came up with the title because my spiritual practice was heart-centered meditation. And the more I spent in that space of what feels like unconditional love or compassion, the more what I would just call coincidences started to happen. Little miracles, sometimes big miracles, grace. And there's just, to me, they're linked. The more that you can hang out just even a little bit in unconditional love and compassion, the more doors start to open, the more your mind starts to open, the more your heart starts to open. And in a way, I'm not saying life gets easy, but it feels like it's more supported somehow. It feels like a red carpet's been rolled out and you just got to walk on it. And, I think probably most people have had one or two experiences of like, what the heck? What are the chances of that happening? But when it starts to happen a lot, it's kind of a cool, miraculous thing, and there's this sense of like, ooh, I must be on the right path here. And so that's how I came up with the title. It's been my experience. The more you hang out in love, the more some of those miraculous synchronistic experiences start to happen. My website is johndavidlatta.com, Latta. And my book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, anywhere else the books are sold.
Exciting. I'll make sure that we have all of that information in our show notes. We've got some great notes in here. And John, this has been a great conversation. And I hope it's just the first of many conversations that we have here on the Wonder series and throughout Living Healthy List.
Thank you so much, Denise. So appreciate being here. Love talking with you.
Same here. It's been great. Thank you so much. For our listeners, thank you for listening. We're here every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So until next week, I leave you with this last thought. Begin to wonder and begin to live again. Thanks, everyone.